All right. Well, we can let folks come in, obviously, as they do. So we could probably get rolling on some things. Again, thank you all for being here. Thanks for being flexible. We're really, really excited to have folks in person early spring next year and really get to celebrate our community through the Mentor Minnesota Awards. Know that those nomination forms are still open. So if you have folks in your community that you really want to uplift and celebrate, that nomination form is still open, and we'll be taking nominations throughout the year. Holler if you have questions, but yeah, please nominate your community and anyone that you feel inspired to celebrate. So, to kick us off, we do have a very special guest, Frank Santwali. So, I am going to kick it off to him if this slide will cooperate with me. Of course, we love technology.
So let me know when you're ready, Michael, and I'll take it away.
Well, Frank, if you want to go, I could just hand it off to you and we'll cross the slide bridge after you're done.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you to Mentor Minnesota for inviting me here. My name is Frank Centwali. I'm a spoken word artist, and I'm also a spoken word arts educator. In the theme of mentorship, my area of mentorship for the last, oh my gosh, since probably 1997 and beyond, has been my work with youth. I started off as an EA. As a TA and then an EA. And then I developed a program in spoken word poetry, taking spoken word into schools and teaching young people the craft of spoken word. And I've had I guess the benefit, the luxury of being able to mentor some young people that are now doing their own mentorship. Tish Jones with True Art Speaks was one of my former students. The crew that at one point in time started Black Table Arts, many of them were former students of mine. So I've had an opportunity to really mentor a lot of young people who are now doing their own mentorship. A lot of work with Jan Mandel, who was with the Black Box at St. Paul Central. And right now I am with Compass. I've been with Compass for 23 years as a teaching artist there. And so I like to think that mentorship has been right up my alley, and my area of specialty is with young people. So the poem I'm going to perform today is kind of that a piece that is about reminding us as adults that the best way to connect with young people is to remember the inner child within ourselves. And so this piece is called The Child Understands. Because a child understands. We are all just people, not to be judged by color. Every stick in the Crayola box is equal, just different shades of one another. A child's concept of good and evil is as pure as its first kiss from its mother. I'll be nice to you if you'll be nice to me too. That's how simply children deal with one another, you see, because the child understands. The child understands that meeting a new friend, hello, new friends, means reconnecting with an old spirit, and love is something they embrace until this cruel, cold world teaches them to fear it. You know, they say the older we get, the dumber we get. Perhaps it's the colder we get, the number we get, because a child understands enough to not care that number grammatically isn't even a word. They just understand the point and the pleasant sound of rhyme and what I wouldn't give to live on a child's time and a child's mind, where summer means sunshine and fishing and play, and dark skies don't represent danger, but instead a chance to twirl in the rain, and fall means mounds of leaves and fancy new clothes and songs to be not only sung but sang, while make-believing superheroes goes princesses and things. You remember, doorbells get ringing, candies handed down, and blocks are flooded with children prancing to the sound. Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. If you don't, I don't care. I'll pull down your. And then the grown-ups go, and remind of manners, as if that song wasn't the same when they were a kid, right? You see, the child understands that dinosaurs can be purple and sing songs of love, and that Dora is an explorer to rival Lewis and Clark. And to be a Power Ranger, you're going to need some homies. teamwork, and a whole lot of heart. And of course, every child knows that turtles can be ninjas and pandas can do Kung Fu. And every spilled glass of juice should be met by the sound of, ooh, he did it. Yeah, the child understands that through tragedy and pain, a momentary ceasefire is yet another opportunity to play, a chance to laugh, to chase the wind, to scale a tree, to be a spirit, to be divine, to be a child, to just be. And of course, every child understands that Dr. Seuss is the illest MC this side of Jay-Z, and that Sneetches with stars upon stars is what they dream to be. So dream, my children, dream of a world where you can stay in Technicolor, living side by side, where the impossible is simply a treasure to seek, and only in games is there a need to hide. Hold on to the joy of that summer sunshine and the blissful ignorance that no matter how cold it gets outside in winter, any day is a good day to venture into the big wide world for more play. Yes, the child understands. And without a word, they remind that they are what is divine and what we should all aspire to be. So please look a child in the eyes, bathe in the warmth of a child's smile. And remember, God's children, we shall forever be. I know my mission. It's plain and simple to see. I'll seek to find the understanding child that resides on the inside of me, because it's that little itty bitty child that truly understands. Thank you. Thank you.
That was great, Frank. Thank you so much.
So, yeah, as we embark on celebrating mentorship, let's keep in mind that it's that innocence inside of us that allows us to want to make a difference for other people. It's that inner child we got to stay connected to. Thank you.
Yes, I love that, Frank. That is a beautiful message and really ingrained into what we do. And it's the reason why 30 years from now, Mentor Minnesota will continue to do the work that we're doing. So cheers to 30 and cheers to 30 more years. So thank you again for that.
Yes, no problem, ma'am.
All right. And okay, very exciting moment, the moment you are all here for. We are going to be sharing the world premiere of our 30th anniversary video. So I am going to just do a quick little switcheroo with the slides, and then I'll get to showing the video for you all. And then let me know if for some reason you're not able to hear the audio. I saw some head shakes, so let's do a little investigation and we'll get the sound up and running. Thanks for your patience. As I navigate this technology. Let's see here. Okay, let's try this and see, and let me know if you can hear it.
The job, the founding executive director position back in 1994. and worked very closely with Bob Dayton, who was the founding visionary behind Mentor Minnesota, back then Twin Cities 1-to-1, later became the Mentoring Partnership of Minnesota, and now today is Mentor Minnesota.
I have been connected to Mentor Minnesota for honestly close to a decade. I think I first got connected in 2015, and at the time I had just started as a program coordinator for a really amazing mentoring organization called Boulder Options. I was able to tap into my own passions, which are really about connecting young people to each other, connecting adults to each other, and creating a more vibrant community. Because I had personally benefited from Mentor Minnesota so deeply. Like, I went to Mentor Minnesota for all of my training, all of my technical assistance. I did 2 rounds of technical assistance with Mentor Minnesota before even doing anything else with them. I had benefited from them so deeply on a personal level and for our agency at Boulder Options that I jumped at the opportunity to support Mentor Minnesota in the same way.
I joined the Mentor Minnesota team 3 years ago. Allowed me to really braid together different elements of different areas that I'm really passionate about, one being youth development and working in that space, the other community, so really being able to work together in collaboration, and lastly, supporting safe and supportive relationships, which have been a part of my story since I can remember.
I am the founder of the Autism Mentorship Program, which pairs autistic youth with autistic adults for one-to-one supported mentoring. And I fell into this job. I worked in actually television for a very long time and didn't know anything about mentoring except that I wanted to start a mentorship program that hadn't been done before. And it was recommended to me early on by a colleague who worked at the University of Minnesota that I should talk to Mentor Minnesota. I feel like Mentor Minnesota is a leader in reimagining what mentorship is. I attended Untold Legacies, which is a training to look at different ways of decolonizing mentoring, of expanding who's involved in mentoring and the power structure of mentoring. That was awesome and amazing, an incredible cohort of people that Mentor Minnesota put together. And I know, and I'm looking forward to working with the mental health training that has been done. And I just feel like Mentor Minnesota is kind of at the forefront of all of these things. And by involving our organization, which works with disability in the Program Services Council, and really listening to what our needs and the needs of our mentors and mentees are, I feel like they're really listening, really looking to innovate and change and be leaders, but be leaders who are listening to people who are on the ground.
QueerSpace is a new organization we just launched in 2021. And in fall of 2020, I was still working full-time at another place and exploring the idea of designing and setting up a mentorship program for queer and trans youth. And was mostly doing it for an MBA program, and just thought, oh, this would be kind of a cool idea. And when I started talking to community members, I reached out to Mentor Minnesota because I figured that they would have good insights on who's providing mentorship to queer and trans youth. And I met with Sarah, and Sarah was like, no one is, and this is awesome, and we could help you, and we have free TA services, and we could help you develop a program manual. And honestly, something that was just an idea, it was kind of the first time that I thought, wow, I could really do this, this could actually happen. And so that was kind of my first encounter, and we've been really collaborative a lot over the last 3 years.
I was involved with some youth mentoring coalitions called YAVA, and then the Minneapolis Youth Trust, which preceded Mentor Minnesota. I then became the director at Kids in Kinship and continued my connection through Mentor Minnesota, benefiting from the resources and the connections to other people, and really saw it as a two-way street, something that I and my program greatly benefited from, but also had a commitment that we would contribute back to the efforts that the Mentor Minnesota agency was trying to do to connect programs and be a resource to other programs.
Chance and luck have a lot to do with everything that happens. So believe it or not, Drill and Gounder Spacek was putting on an event with the Mythbusters. and it was sold out, and I wanted to get my kids to go, being big Mythbusters fans, so I reached out to Joellen and asked her about the organization, and 5 minutes in, I was hooked on this being something I had to get involved in and was going to be passionate about. Found out that Bob Dayton was the chairman of the board. Bob is a long-term mentor of mine. I grew up with his children at Woodhill playing hockey and at Blake, and once I got the chance to talk to him about what he was doing and kind of where I come from and what I care about, it was, for a lot of reasons, an incredible board to get involved in. One of the best ones was, it isn't about just one organization. It's about spreading the arc of mentoring through corporations, through mentors, through mentees, helping build the strength of the space. And as a young person trying to get involved in a board, that was a pretty exciting thing, and also fits kind of my approach. So as I got more involved, especially once you meet Joellen Gonder-Spacek and then if you know Bob Dayton, what they had done was incredible, and I then was lucky enough, I became the second chairman of the board a few years later, and have basically been involved ever since.
I work at the Division of Indian Work. I am the youth worker and volunteer coordinator there. I've been there for over 10 years now. I also have a society that I founded called the Young Women's Society, which is a group for young Native women. We do sisterhood mentorship, and we also bring awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous women. I was a mentor when I was maybe 24, but I didn't really understand the impact that that has because I wasn't really trained. It was kind of like, I like this kid and I want to spend more time with them, you know. But now I understand its importance on a whole other level. I mean, I'm 32, I feel like I need a mentor at this point because I just see the impact that it makes on so many young people. So I think it really helps people to understand the importance of it.
About 20 years ago now, so very core to our history, Mentor Minnesota pioneered something called the Quality Mentoring Assessment Program, or QMAP. And this was a project that was designed after conversations with both mentoring programs and funders who said, funders would come to Mentor Minnesota and say, okay, who are the best mentoring programs? We'd like to fund people who are doing actual impactful work in your community. And mentoring programs would say, we want to know that we're actually making a positive impact on the youth in our community. How can we show that? And so Mentor Minnesota, utilizing resources from the National Mentoring Resource Center, which is a federal agency, developed something called QMAP, which helped programs assess how they were doing. And it started out actually as a very small, almost like a survey or a test, although it's not a test. It's more of a way to assess where you need to grow. But it asked questions like, are you screening mentors? Are you training mentors? Are you asking young people how they feel about their match? Small things that if you have that data as a mentoring organization can make a really big impact in the quality of the relationships that you're helping steward.
I was excited 2 years ago to join the Committee on Racial Equity, and so sitting on that committee allows me to not only bridge back to what's happening here in Minnesota, but then to be on part of a national committee where we really can begin to scale racial equity in a bigger way within the mentoring movement.
I think the biggest and I think most positive thing that has happened over these last 30 years is the way that we're centering equity and justice and inclusion and really trying to meet young people where they're at to help them really think about what is the journey they want to navigate and how do we as adults stand with them, stand next to them, and really walk that journey with them. I think those pieces that came with a lot of pain for a lot of communities all over the United States, a lot of pain for us individually and then collectively, in many ways I think will ultimately be a positive for young people in the ways that we adults think about how we should and how we want to show up for young people and centering those principles of equity and inclusion.
The other way that Kids in Kinship was involved in work that led towards some national efforts was we were invited to be a part of the LGBTQ pilot program, a part of the Elements of Effective Practice that was set by National Mentor. So through our work and benefiting from other programs here in Minnesota, we came up with what were some good sound practices, policies, procedures that we could carry out that would work towards safe mentoring and inclusivity for our youth.
One of the other ways that I originally got involved with Mentor Minnesota was through their LGBTQ pilot group that Sarah hosted with Christian and Nia. And that was great because there were leaders from mentorship programs kind of all across the Twin City and Minnesota. And so I got to meet others who were doing mentorship and learning more from them. And it was just really beautiful to see how Sarah really is leading and was leading this, kind of whole initiative on LGBTQ plus inclusivity, and Minnesota being the first pilot. I feel like Sarah's just always pushing all of our mentoring programs to take a step back and think about how to reduce barriers, how to be more inclusive, how to get more kids in and create more inclusive spaces.
The reason that Mentor Minnesota is important is because it's a way to bring the voices of many small not-for-profits together into a much stronger force. And then because of the way Minnesota is built, which I believe is really around these same ideas, right? That the corporate environment is very supportive of the community. It's just a thing that fits our culture. And almost always they'll talk about a mentor. They may call it a coach, they may call it a teacher, they may call it a parent, but they'll talk about that person who influenced their life, helped them out, and especially at bumps in the road, gave them guidance of where to go, right? We've all been mentees, and one of the challenges is to remind yourself to give back. That's what a mentor is to me.
There are so many things that are really profound memories for me. I think about the work that we did with some key partners, WCCO Television and 3M and the Star Tribune and Insight News, that resulted in thousands of adults being able to step up and get involved in mentoring. Later, WCCO Television actually won a Peabody Award for the various ways that they produced their deeper dive stories on mentor programs and on the lives of young people and mentors that were involved at that time.
The question that I like to ask other people, and I honestly reflect on this every day, is what is my vision for a healthy community? And I think about it when I'm biking down the street, and I think I want a place where young people can go different places. They have access to transportation, they have access to bikes, they feel safe on the street. I want a place where all young people can access quality education, where they feel like their interests and their goals and their drives are represented in the schools that they go to. I want them to have any opportunity to pursue a hobby that they want. And so for me, my vision for young people is to have a community in which they see themselves and they know that they can thrive and they can flourish.
I hope that autistic youth and other youth with disabilities can feel strong, can feel supported, can feel connected with their communities and feel happy about who they are. That's really important. And I hope for the general population that there's more disability awareness.
I just want to say kudos, congratulations, and I really look forward to further celebration as we enter the next 30 years.
Happy 30th anniversary, Mentor Minnesota. It's been amazing being a part of this organization, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Thanks for having me. It's been a real honor to get to be part of this work, and I promise I wouldn't cry, but I just believe in it that much.
Congratulations, Mentor Minnesota, on 30 years. That is quite an achievement. You're an amazing organization, and I appreciate you, as does everyone at the Autism Mentorship Program, on the staff and the mentors and the mentees. Thank you.
To everybody who's been involved, I've been honored to be a part of this group, to have the chance to be a part of it, and anything I can do to help it going on, I'll help for the next 30 years.
congratulations on 30 years. That's a big accomplishment. And I hope we get to do this again in another 10 or 20 or 30 years again.
Happy anniversary, Mentor Minnesota. I am so honored to be part of this journey, and I'm really humbled by everyone who I've met along this journey who is helping celebrate with us. So happy birthday, Mentor Minnesota. Happy 30th.
Woohoo! Thank you all for tuning into that. That was so exciting. It's always really fun to see. I was there interviewing, but then when you see it all come together, like it's really powerful to have all of those stories in one place and to be able to see the breadth of everyone's work. Um, just very grateful for all of you, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next 30. I'm going to hop back into these slides really quick. Right. That. And then I am going to pass it over to our fearless leader, Sarah Schaefer, for some words.
Thanks, Michael, and happy Friday afternoon, everybody. I just want to pause for a moment and say, Michael had a vision earlier this year about how we could share our story because Mentor Minnesota, yes, we are our own independent organization, but we are nothing without all of you who are our community, who support us, who are the folks that we support in turn to create positive, healthy communities. And Michael, this was your vision, your baby, and I had chills watching that video and seeing the way that you were able to bring our stories together and come to life. So thank you so much for your work on that video. It will live on, and I look forward to our 60th anniversary video. But thank you so much. And I'm so glad to see all of your faces. And I know I mentioned this in the video, but I really am humbled to be part of Mentor Minnesota. And I really do mean it when I say that this is not about me or about Mentor Minnesota specifically. It is about all of us coming together to believe in the power of community and the power of young people in community. That is what we are here for, and that is where we are going, is to make sure that young people are always supported. And I've been reflecting on this a lot in the last few weeks, but it really feels true that our work is never done. It was Rika in the video who mentioned that she needs a mentor, and that's true. We all need mentors. I can see so many faces on here of people who I consider my own mentors for my own personal and professional life. And I know that we will need mentors until we are old. We will always need mentors, and young people always need mentors in relationships. So this work really is important. It is critical, and the power of connection cannot be overstated. So I am just so thankful. And yeah, happy 30th anniversary to all of us. I am going to pass it on to Cheryl Moeller, who is the Executive Director of High Tech Kids. Cheryl is the board liaison for the Program Services Council, which is our leadership group of mentoring professionals across the state. And about a year and a half ago, we asked Cheryl to join the Mentor Minnesota Board of Directors. And that was one of the best decisions we've made in a long time, because Cheryl has been a dedicated leader in her own community. She's also been an amazing collaborator for Mentor Minnesota and mentoring organizations that she comes in contact with. So, Cheryl, I would love to bring you to the virtual stage.
All right. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words. First off, happy 30th anniversary to Mentor Minnesota. As Sarah mentioned, I'm relatively new. I've only been involved with about the last year and a half. But the first thing that impressed me about your organization was your staff. And met Emily first, then I met Sarah, then I met Michael and Eric, and now Rika. And it's like, and I We also benefited with some TA assistants, and everyone has been top notch. I've learned from you, and I think the thing that I have been offered was connection, and hopefully we've all been able to share that. I think it's really important for to bring all those mentoring organizations together because we can learn from each other. And the professional development thing that we did last June was really, really empowering. A lot of us work in small organizations where we don't have the benefit of a large staff to kind of bing ideas off. And this has been a true thing that there's mentoring going on between all the mentoring organizations. So that has been a wonderful thing to be a part of. I think that one of the things kids needs is connection. And while parents can give that strong connection that they love you, kids kind of expect often parents to be that person, and the connections of someone outside their sphere that believes in them and that is willing to listen to their ideas is really, really powerful. I think that's what makes strong kids. And I think those kids that have benefit from that are often the ones that will become mentors later. So um, I think it inspired me to also mentor. I had not really been mentoring anybody in official capacity, but I do now have a mentee at a North Hennepin Tech that I wouldn't have done if it had not been for all of you. So thank you for making my life richer as well. I wish I had like a toast that I could say, here's to mentor for 30 great years and 30 more years. And I just want to make sure that the staff is all feels very appreciated because you guys really work hard and there's so many good resources that I still haven't taken advantage of yet that I want to. And I think you will help all of our organizations be stronger. So thanks again and cheers to 30 more years.
Yay, I rose my little imaginary champagne glass. So yes, thank you, Sarah and Cheryl, for those words. Yeah, and again, just thank you all for being here. I really want to give a huge shout out to the St. Paul Neighborhood Network. This video could not have been possible without their partnership, and without all of their work editing and pulling this together. They really were kind of the masterminds behind producing this. So I just want to give a really huge thank you to them. If you have any video production needs, definitely reach out to them. They're amazing to work with. And Mentor Minnesota is very grateful for their partnership in this. And then again, yeah, cheers to 30 years. If you have any celebratory words you would like to say, I invite you to share those in the chat. If you want to come off mute and say anything, yeah, we can take some time to kind of share some exciting thoughts.
What a wonderful video. What wonderful remarks. Happy birthday / anniversary to Mentor. You're all so, so wonderful. And I just really appreciate getting to know all of you and work with you, and also just the really important work that you're all doing in our communities. So thank you.
Great. And we got some happy 30th in the chat. If you feel inspired to send anything else, yeah, you have our emails. You can absolutely share. But yeah, I just want to thank you all again. I really appreciate all of this, and we're really looking forward to being in person in the early spring next year. So look forward to some announcements for that. And again, those nominations for the Mentor Minnesota Awards are still open. So we'll be sending out some communication and just reminders about those nominations. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, any of the staff know. And yeah, so we can really start to celebrate our community and get the Mentor Minnesota Awards out there. But again, I really appreciate all of you and have a beautiful weekend.